This morning we will read from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 15, the Pandavas retire timely, text 28. Sutta Ovacha Evam Sintayato Yisno Krishna Pada Saroruham Sohartanatigadena Santasit Vimalamatihi. Word for word translation. Sutta Ovacha, Sutta Goswami said, Evam thus, Sintaya, while thinking of the instructions, Jishnu, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Pada, the feet of Krishna, Sororuham, resembling lotuses, Sahardana, by deep friendship, Adigadena, in great intimacy, Santa, pacified, Ashit, it so became, Vimala, without any tinge of material contamination, Matihi, mind. Sutta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. Purport. Since the Lord is absolute, deep meditation upon him is as good as yogic trance. The Lord is non-different from his name, form, qualities, pastime, entourage, and specific actions. Arjuna began to think of the Lord's instructions to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only those instructions began to eliminate the tinges of material contamination in the mind of Arjuna. The Lord is like the sun. The sun's appearance means immediate dissipation of darkness or ignorance, and the Lord's appearance within the mind of the devotee can at once drive away the miserable material effects. Lord Chaitanya has therefore recommended constant chanting of the name of the Lord for the protection from all contamination of the material world. The feeling of separation from the Lord is undoubtedly painful to the devotee, but because it is in connection with the Lord, it has a specific transcendental effect which pacifies the heart. The feelings of separation are also sources of transcendental bliss, and they are never comparable to contaminated material feelings of separation. The verse again, Sutta Uvacha Evam Sintayato Yisno Krishna Pada Saroruham Sahartena Tigadena Santa Sit Vimala Matihi. Sutta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah. Chichaitanya manobhistam stapitam yena bhutale svamupakadamyam dadati svapadantikam. Vandeham shigo shiyuda padakamalam shigum vaishnavamsa. Shirupam jagajatam saganaragnatam vitam tam sajivam sadvaitam savrutam parjana saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivishakam Vitam Shahe Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Tyatpate Gopesha Gopka Kantarad Kant Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwar Vishavana Siddhadevi Pranamama Hari Priye Pancha Kalptrabhasha Kripa Sinmevasha Patnan Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhattali Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatyai Desatani Srila Prabhupada Ki. So we have heard before in this first canto, in chapter 4 and 5, how Srila Vyasadeva felt depressed. He felt morose, and then suddenly spiritual master appears, Narada Muni. And it's interesting, in the Bhagavatam, there is no exchange of welcome or whatever. That Narada Muni addresses immediately Srila Vyasadeva. And he says to Srila Vyasadeva, you did a great job. You wrote down all these Vedas, that the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, no, not the Ramayana, that was Valmiki, but the Mahabharata and so many other Vedic literature, that you did a great job. But why you are still feeling unsatisfied? That was the question. And factually, Narada Muni chastised him and said to him, are you only concerned with the body and the mind? What with the interest of the soul? You forgot the interest of the soul. You wrote all this Karma Kanda literature for elevation to the heavenly planets or performing pious deeds and enjoy more in this world. But people in this world are already inclined for enjoyment, and you are encouraging them. That's not good. So 80% of what he wrote was practically Karma Kanda, how to get a pious life and in this material world. That is interesting. Of course, Srila Vyasadeva is also a representative of the Supreme Lord, because everyone who comes to this material world comes here with the purpose for enjoyment. They are not coming to become Krishna conscious. They want to enjoy. That's the purpose of their coming. And therefore, the Srila Vyasadeva is giving them a manual in the form of this Karma Kanda and so on, how to live in this world and get material enjoyment, and enjoy even more and more on the heavenly planets. That's one of the purposes. But that process will not make someone happy. It doesn't satisfy the soul. What is satisfying the soul, the Bhagavatam? Savaipusa parodamo yato bhaktya doksha ahait kapatiyata yatma subhashidati. The highest occupation for humans is to perform the devotional service, unalloyed devotional service to Adokshaya, the Lord who is not perceived by material senses. And that must be uninterrupted and without any ulterior motive, just to please the Lord. And then Yatma Subhasida, that will give great satisfaction to the Lord. So he's telling Shalavyas, if you forgot this, you did not glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead sufficiently. Therefore, you're feeling depressed, and therefore you are feeling disconnected. That so if we feel unsatisfied and unhappy, it means we are feeling disconnected. That we should always connect. That I was just studying the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna says to Arjuna, Tasma saveshu kalishu mam anushmara yudhyasa mayach pita manobudhi mama vesha samsaya. O Arjuna, always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. If your activities dedicated to me, your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. You say, always think of me. It's not Prabhupada. Once he chanted his 16 rounds and he put his bead back on the table and said, now I finished my rounds, I can do every damn thing I want. So it was a little cynical, because he wanted to say, no, you chant your rounds, you must still think of Krishna after chanting your rounds. That 24 hours a day, we must organize our life to be connected with Krishna. If you don't feel connected, then you're absorbed in the duality of good and bad in the mind, and it drags you down, the material energy, and your consciousness comes down, and you feel, and you are feeling morose, depressed. That and the same thing happened with Arjuna. Yes, he felt separation. But then he was remembering again the Supreme Lord, and he became connected again. That's also what Krishna said to the gopis. To the gopis, he said, "Yeah, when he played his flute, they came in the middle of the night to the forest, and Krishna said, 'Why did you come here? It's very dangerous. So many dangerous animals in the forest. And you should be with your husband and your children and taking care. It is not by getting my physical presence that you become Krishna conscious. That you can, at home, you think of me, you do your sadhana, you think of me. That is the way to develop love for me and to stay in contact with me. Of course, the gopis did not need to do sadhana. We are doing sadhana to train us to remember Krishna. But the gopis, they had spontaneous love for Krishna. But Krishna said the same thing to the wives of the ritualistic Brahmins. He said, when they brought food for Krishna, Krishna said, it's very nice that you are come, and it shows your great love of me, But now go back to your husband and assist your husband. And engage in your activities and think of me. Perform your sadhana. That will connect you with me. Of course, the wives of the ritualistic Brahmins said, we left our husbands without permission. They will not accept us again. How can we go back? But Krishna says, don't worry. I will make sure they accept you again. Of course, when they came back, their husbands saw, oh, they are completely detached. They have no interest in us anymore. They are more advanced than us. And then they understood. Yeah, we were doing this karma kanda rituals, going to heaven, but we forgot Krishna. And remembering Krishna is the goal of life. That's the first instruction of the Vedas. Always remember Krishna. Never forget him. So they understood. Yes, we have forgotten Krishna. We forgot the goal of life. Similarly, Srila Vyasadeva, because Narada Muni told his story of his previous life and how he got his spiritual body. And he told Srila Vyasadeva, no, rectify the error you made. Rectify the error and meditate on the absolute the absolute truth with devotion. Meditate on the absolute truth with devotion, and from this meditation, as a result of this meditation, you should write the Bhagavatam. And that is how Srila Vyasadeva gave us this great literature. So, if you read every day the Bhagavatam, that will help you to connect with Krishna, to feel satisfied. Because that's the purpose of this literature. It is in the Bhagavatam, in that 176 or 7, one gives oral reception to this great literature, oral reception to the ear, that all this lamentation, illusion, fear will go away. So if we are properly engaged in devotional service, our lamentation, illusion, and fear will go away. And during the day, we are absorbed in so many things, maybe for our work and so on, and we start to forget Krishna, and it becomes troublesome, the whole thing. And that is a fact. But if we have a good sadhana and nicely engaged in Prabhupada's mission, especially in the morning, if we have a good sadhana and we hear the Bhagavatam, then during the day we will have spiritual power to take shelter of Krishna. It's not that we can always think of Krishna, but at least it should be in our background, the background of our thinking, that we are doing it for Krishna. Like you are going to get the spiritual master from the airport, and you are driving, and the spiritual master is in the back of the car, and you are driving. Do you forget? Do you forget that the spiritual master is in the back of your car? No, we don't forget. That's the purpose of our driving. The same way, we should think during the day, always, I'm doing it for Krishna. We may forget Krishna for that, but if we encounter difficulties, at least we should pray to Krishna in our heart and stay connected during the job. The job we have is challenges, but if we face the challenges, we should internally pray to Krishna and ask Krishna, please help me. I'm trying to do for you. And Krishna will help. It will help us to reconnect that. And Arjuna here has similar experience. He was thinking of Krishna and he became pacified. It is said he began to think of the Lord's instructions to him on the battle of Kurukshetra. It means, Prabhupada says, in other words, he was remembering the teachings in Bhagavad Gita. That if we know the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, then we can see our life through these teachings. That what the teachings of Krishna are the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, are the teachings of our spiritual master. That before we do something, we should always think, will Prabhupada be pleased with it? Will Krishna be pleased with it? And that is Krishna conscious. Before we do something, always think in these terms, will Krishna be pleased with? Because then it means, how do we know Krishna is pleased? The question is my action going to be in line with what Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita? And is it in line with the teachings of the Bhagavatam? So that should be always in our consciousness. That because the Lord is like the sun. The sun's appearance means immediate dissipation of darkness or ignorance, and the Lord's appearance within the mind of the devotee cannot once drive away the miserable effects, material effects. I remember 20 years ago, Mother Narayani, she was one of my teachers of the Bhagavatam. But once I was with her in Inishrat, that the Govindadvip island in Northern Ireland, that we have a beautiful altar there of Radha Govinda on an island. And we have bought the island many years ago. That it has its challenges because everything is wet, always raining in Ireland. It's not an easy climate there. I think they have 80% of the days rain, so you can't imagine that. So, yeah. Anyway, but that's there. Yes, that once we had a seminar there by Narayani Mataji, and it was also a holy name seminar. And we did a test by, we had split up in pairs. And one devotee would say the Pancha Tattva mantra, and then the other devotee. You say, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. And then the other devotee would respond, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. This Pancha Tattva mantra is also very powerful. And just by chanting then, if you felt morose, you start to feel happy. So if you have a tough time, you chant this Pancha mantra a few times. That will help us to come out of this darkness. That this Pancha are also the holy names of the Lord and His associates. And it drives away also the miserable material effects, because that is the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna says, Man Mana, be always connected with me, always think of me. So that is Krishna consciousness, be always connected in your mind with Krishna, that and never forget him. And that is a training. That's a training that if one is pure in heart, it will become spontaneous. And the absorption will become very deep in Krishna consciousness. That to any sense perception. That I remember always Bhakti Charamaj, when he would take darshan of the deities, he would not see anything else, only the deities. Everything else would out of his consciousness, and he would not see anything else. So deep was his absorption, you could feel that and that kind of absorption. It means taking shelter. But how to take shelter? If we are materially contaminated, we don't have the inclination to do that. But how to come to that point? That there are these 4 points which Prabhupada makes on the chanting. First, when we chant holy name, we should feel helpless. Cry out to Krishna. The chanting should become a crying out for help. Krishna, help me. I'm in this material world, I'm rotting here. But my home is a spiritual world. I made a lot of errors. Please forgive me. Help me to go back to the spiritual world. So really take shelter of Krishna in your mind. That's the first thing. That then the second thing is focus. Like a helpless child is crying out to the mother and want only the mother. Focus should be there. That and greed. Greed means I want Krishna. But that greed will develop when we hear the Bhagavatam. That and we see Arjuna. Arjuna was always thinking of Krishna in separation. And in the purport it is said, this separation has nothing to do with the material sense of separation. Materially, if one feels alienated or separated from one's beloved, it's a suffering. But feeling of separation of Krishna is the greatest ecstasy. There is no material suffering. That difference we cannot really make with our intelligence because we don't have the experience in this material world. But Krishna's names are different. If we take shelter of them, they are pure spiritual. So feeling this separation, to feel this separation, you must first become attached to Krishna, and that's what the soul does. Desire of attachment, and that desire must grow. That attachment must grow, and that grows by hearing the Bhagavatam, especially all these pastimes with his devotees. We become attracted. Like you see a tourist brochure and you look at a place to visit, that and okay, that you want to visit that place, that and you become attracted to so many things in the pictures, in the brochure, and then you develop a desire to go there. The same with the Bhagavatam. We hear the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada's purpose, day by day, and gradually we become attracted. And that gradually you start to live in a relationship with Krishna. Everything that happens in your life, you see Krishna's hand. Krishna's hand, how he's arranging things, whether it's good or bad. He arranges everything. But we are always conscious. Krishna arranges this thing. Therefore we pray to Krishna, whether out of fear or not. But we pray to Krishna. Become deep more, by that we become more and more deeply attached to Krishna. So Krishna consciousness means changing our desires and cultivating attachment to Krishna. And as that attachment grows, that we become more and more mature in Krishna consciousness. And we can imagine Srila Prabhupada. He was engaged in so many managerial things and so on, but he was always Krishna conscious, always connected with Krishna. Once Prabhupada was in Mayapur, and a Mataji was showing a picture to Srila Prabhupada, a picture she took a few months before that, and she showed the picture to Prabhupada and said to Prabhupada, it looks on that picture that you are looking depressed, morose. And Prabhupada looked at it and said, yes, I remember that moment. I felt great ecstasy at that moment. So we cannot judge that from the outside. He was always transcendentally situated, always blissful. Like Krishna is always blissful. Whether he kills demons or dances with the gopis, he's always full of bliss. We can also become full of bliss, but we have to learn how to connect every moment with Krishna. And there are so many lessons to learn from the Bhagavatam, but they are all meant to deepen our connection with Krishna. And at a certain moment, the connection will become deep, and Krishna reciprocates with you in so many ways that even with neophyte devotees, he reciprocates. That he helps us in so many ways, but we don't see it. We don't see Krishna's hand in it, and that's unfortunate. But when we become advanced, really, we see Krishna's reciprocation. And then Krishna's presence in our life becomes a fact. It's not a belief or faith anymore. It's a fact. Krishna reciprocates with us. And that deepens your faith again. So that faith develops by experiencing Krishna consciousness with Krishna's reciprocation. In the beginning, it deepens by logic, by thinking and understanding the Shastra and how the Shastra are true. That gives faith in the beginning, but in a higher realm, the faith comes from direct living with Krishna, practically. And that is described here, that Arjuna remembered all Krishna's reciprocation, and he became blissful again. So the feeling of separation from the Lord is undoubtedly painful to the devotee, but because it is in connection with the Lord, it has a specific transcendental effect which pacifies the heart. Feelings of separation are also sources of transcendental bliss. It is transcendental bliss. So that is also what Lord Chaitanya came to teach us. Who is Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya came, but is Krishna himself, who wanted to experience the bliss of Srimati Radharani she felt in separation from him, He wanted to experience that because Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna was thinking, she feels more pleasure than me. And that is Lord Chaitanya, is his confidential reason for his appearance. In the Antiyal Lila, you find all this, and even at the end of the Madhya Lila, you see Lord Chaitanya's madness. He becomes practically mad of love of Krishna. That and he gets symptoms of ecstasy what the human being cannot experience. That's not possible. This great transcendental bliss, and constantly he was meeting with Bhakti Swarup Damodar and with Ramananda Roy. Bhakti Swarup Damodar is in the spiritual world is Lalita, and Ramananda Roy is in the mood of Vishaka, and Lord Chaitanya is the mood of Radharani. So Vishaka and Lalita are the two gurus in loving affairs with Krishna for Radharani. So they had these talks in the middle of the night, and they would feel great ecstasy just by talking about Krishna, because this talking connects us with Krishna. Therefore, it's said in Bhagavad Gita, Machita Machata Brahna Bodhayantas Prasprankatyam Samam Nityam Tushanti Sharamantasi. My devotees are always conversing about me, and they derive great transcendental bliss from that. That's where the bliss comes from, by studying of the Bhagavatam, by going deep into the Bhagavatam, and not only from the 11th canto, but also the Bhagavad Gita, because that is what Arjuna is remembering, Bhagavad Gita. He remembers Krishna's kindness, that he became my chariot driver, my servant. And he was feeling embarrassed that because it came out of the mood of friendship and awe and reverence, and he was remembering, yes, that Krishna has tolerated all my familiarities. He says that also in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the description of the universal form, and he came in awe and reverence, he lost his sense of friendship. But Krishna did not like it. And at the end of the 11th chapter, he takes that away and shows again his two-armed form, and Arjuna becomes pacified by that. So, a lesson for us to learn: we feel depressed, bad, is because we are disconnected from Krishna, and we need to reconnect again. And that's the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement, to help us to reconnect with Krishna at every moment. It's a training. It's a lifelong training, always to think of Krishna. And when we come to that level of always thinking of Krishna, yam yam smapi svaram bhavam tayant ante kalevam tam tamavet kantya sadad bhava bhavita. The state of mind at the time of death you will attain. That is the body you will attain. Determines the body. If we are in spiritual consciousness, we get back the awareness of our spiritual body, and we don't take birth again. Then we continue our bliss in the spiritual world. But for a devotee, whether one is in the material world or the spiritual world, it doesn't make any difference. Narada Muni is traveling in the material and the spiritual worlds constantly, chanting the holy name, and is not affected by anything. That is a pure devotee. that is not affected by the material energy because he's always engaged in Krishna's service, and the material energy cannot act upon him. But if we are one moment disconnected, Maya is there immediately. Maya is there to get us. So that is what I could say on this verse, a very important verse indicating the purpose of our Krishna consciousness, the purpose of our spiritual life. Any comment, question, please?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Just wanted a confirmation. The four things what you mentioned while chanting. One is helplessness, second is focus, and then greed that we want Krishna. And then the fourth thing was dependency or?
No. The fourth thing is the most important.
Yes.
It's love.
Love. Okay.
Giving our love to Krishna. In our chanting, giving our love, doing everything with love. All affection we have, we give to Krishna. In everything we do. That's the most important. Yes.
Okay, man. Yeah.
We try also to come to that point. Hopefully one lifetime.
Yes, man. Thank you.
Anything else? No.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So that's awesome. The only time we can be greedy is in our greed for the loving service of Krishna. That's awesome realization today.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That is a transcendental creed. That's this point is made by Rupa Goswami. You need only one quality to attain perfection, he says, and that's laulyam, the greed to have Krishna. Very nice. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Have a nice day. Jai Prabhupada.